So I've had a new starter battery ever since I bought the van. Essentially I drive the van so much that it's not a problem, but I have noticed that the starter battery is getting a bit weak. So I've put a new one in there, slightly more uprated version than the original, but yeah, otherwise same size, same lead acid starter battery. But yeah, just thought that I would pop that in there. It's maintenance free, it's a Bosch one. Like I say, I've had it for ages anyway, so put it in there, connect everything back up, job's a good one. Whoever designed these cabin filters, it's stupid. The level of disassembly for that area is crazy. So those are the two pieces you got to take out, and all for the cabin filter that goes there. I'm just doing a full service on the van. Got all the bits all there, but obviously I've done a full service on the van. I've made a video about that many times, so I'm not going to bore you with all that again. That now is a thing I have to remove to replace the cabin filter. I think it's a particulate and pollen filter is its exact title. You potentially don't even need one, but it comes as part of the service kit, so I'm replacing it anyway. So there we go, that's how dirty these things get, and that was replaced when I bought it in September last year. So it's what's that, 10 months just thereabouts. So a lot of mileage obviously, but yeah, you can see there how filthy it is. So it was a bit yeah, it was a bit obvious every time I was turning the fan on. The fan's going so yeah, you can see all the dust flying off it as well. So yeah, new one's gone in. It's just a matter of reassembling that now. I've got most of the suspension done now, going where I want to go and exploring where I want to explore, and that it just didn't feel right. So I've gone for gas shocks on the rear, which I've already replaced, double leaf springs, which are going to go on the rear as well, gas shocks on the front, and yeah, the bump stops I've replaced with sort of more factory style ones, and the same on the front shocks as well. The springs are in perfect condition and they're good springs. There's no point changing them, but the rubber inserts that I put in there before were again too much, that they were making the suspension too solid. For most people that might work really great. For just driving on general roads and everything, it's okay. But for more off-road stuff, not so much. You need more articulation in and more absorption of impacts, and suspension movement and change and all that has to be a more gradual thing rather than, you know, harsh on or off sort of thing. If you want to see me upgrading the suspension on a van identical to this, then yeah, there's a video out there already. It's probably over on the John and Mandy channel, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and you'll see me on my driveway when I had a house, upgrading to double leaf spring suspension and upgrading the shock absorbers to heavy duty gas shock absorbers. So yeah, no point repeating all that. It's like the service, there's no point showing you what I'm doing on the service because I've already done that in a video. I just thought I would mention it so there's a point in this video where you can understand why, if I ever talk about in the future about suspension upgrades, you'll know what I'm talking about. Just to clarify, those are not the Sumo springs. Those were far too harsh, and they are just a better modern version of the factory bump stops, and those shocks as well. Like I say, I've yet to do the double leaf spring. Something else that's been bugging me for a while as well is when you close the glove box, there's a massive gap that you can get your finger in, and this has been on every van, but you can push it in a bit more. So there's a little latch there with 2 screws. I'm just using my little right angled little tool just to loosen this off, nudge it backwards a little bit more. So hopefully soon I can get it to fit like that. All right, I think I've got it. This is quite a little nifty tool as well. So it's ratchet, spins one way or the other by rotating that, and just takes all the usual bits. It comes with this as a a standard bit, but obviously everything that is that kind of design will fit in there, and then you can just ratchet it. Quite cool anyway. But anyway, so I've adjusted this bracket here probably about 3/4 of the way back, and now I'm happy with that. Used to be, like I say, a big gap I could get my finger in down the back there. Can't do that now, and it's got a little bit more travel on it, but I'd rather it just fit in nicely. Also replaced the diesel heater pump because my diesel heat was smoking an awful lot, and that was quite noisy. So despite all the sound deadening around it, it was still quite noisy, so I've just replaced that now. For point of reference, this is bed mattress that I used as a sofa and everything. The new one, I've just cut a slit in there, inserted the pump in it, and tie wrapped something around that, and then basically strapped that inside the inner wing, which is where my diesel heater pump is, and it's silent as anything now, running sweet as. So we've now got the double leaf springs on, the new bump stops, which, as you can see, the bump stops now are not in contact with the rear axle at all. Obviously new rear brakes, brake discs and pads, and handbrake shoes, handbrake cables as well, just so that we don't have any repeat of what happened last time, because the handbrake's a bit naff on these vans. So yeah, that's all nicely done and dusted for a bit of safety feature, you know, handbrake and all that. But yeah, I'm very happy with what's been done on the back. I've got plenty of ground clearance and decent suspension, considering, you know, that by the time this van's built, we all know what it was weighed at, 3.3 tons with all my gear in there. It's just nice to have a bit more ground clearance. When I bought this van, the dealer told me it's had a new cam belt at 45,000 miles, but gave me no evidence to prove it because it was a lease vehicle. Other people told me my engine doesn't have a cam belt, it has a cam chain, and loads of people have said that. So I went to the local garage and they confirmed very quickly, yes, it is a Peugeot engine and it's got a cam belt, and basically, yeah, well, they've changed it. So it said a new cam belt, a new water pump, ancillary belts, and they've given it a full health check as well, just to make sure all the other work that I've done on the van and everything like that is all okay. So we're good to go for many thousands of miles. All right, so today's task is to protect what little areas on the van are possibly going to go rusty. Obviously the van's chassis is galvanized as it comes out of the factory, so that means it shouldn't rust unless the paint is chipped or severely damaged in some way. It shouldn't rust. However, things like you know, I don't know, subframe, wishbones, all the major components that are under the van that actually hold engines in and suspension together, obviously rear axles, all that kind of stuff, sump pan, they are all prone to rust. So that's why I'm going to spray it all now with this product, LanoGuard, which is supposedly like a wax oil, so it sprays on. It's quite sticky. I've got it all over me, and yeah, I do suggest that don't do it when it's windy, and then after a few days that sets hard to give a nice little protection. So I think it was about 40 quid for the tub. I'm going to do my van and Mandy's van and get them all sorted out, and yeah, a little bit of prevention, hopefully keep us going a bit longer. So going back to the suspension, I've had a panel van identical to the one I've got now, factory built, which came with single leaf springs. I upgraded it to double leaf springs with HD gas shocks, and that made a big difference to it. I was very happy with the handling afterwards. Then I had a motorhome that came with airbag suspension, and the airbag suspension really didn't offer great suspension, but it did allow you to raise or lower the rear of the van. Ultimately, it made it look like you weren't carrying as much weight as otherwise the vehicle might look like it is. And that's probably why a lot of people use air suspension, is to raise the height of the vehicle nice and easily. It's a cheap fix, basically. But like I say, I really wanted mechanical kind of like proper suspension, so that's why I went down the route of having the double leaf springs with the heavy duty gas shock absorbers, gas struts, and I'm finding that it's been brilliant. Like I say, over the last few days bombing around the place, it's exactly what I want for where I want to go, which is why I've fitted it, and why I believe that this system is a better system for the type of driving scenarios where I'm going to find myself in. And that's just about my personal preference based on my personal experiences of all the different types of suspension systems that I've tried now, and that I believe that this one, driving it around, gives me more confidence that the vehicle is behaving in a way that I can handle it, and also that it's more than capable now, with a bit more ground clearance, to handle more of the off-roady stuff, which I want to get into soon as I can. For those who are following my cycling challenge at the moment, I'm about halfway down my my mileage to go now, so yeah, it's pretty cool. But I just wanted to say thanks for your support and donations. If you have donated, I'll put the link to the cycle challenge in the video description down below, and if you've got any questions about suspension or anything else, you know, from my experience, I am not an expert. I am just somebody who's tried all the variants out. So if you've got any questions, ask in the comment section down below, and if you've got any opinions, no doubt you'll let me know them as well. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, folks. On the next one, we're going to be talking about luxury items, and what you might perceive to be luxury items, or I might perceived to be luxury items, and whether you do indeed need them, or if you do, why. Who knows what's going to happen, but tune in next week, or probably this week, later in this week, maybe. Yeah, probably later this week. Right, see you later, folks. Bye. Back in the muddy undergrowth.